Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. How to be frugal and fabulous. That's the topic for today. I get so many replies every time I do a video on this topic of living on a fixed income, or maybe perhaps more accurately, a fixed budget. And I want to do something today that's a bit more real. I want to, talk about lifestyle strategies, things that you can actually do. Now, I've reached out to our community several times on this topic and got some good ideas from all of you. And there are many people, many women in our group who are really struggling with a very, enforced and fixed budget. They literally do not have, $1 more than they bring in every month to spend on any extras. But there are things you can do. And I think that even my own situation, I'm on a fixed budget. I don't have a lot of extra money in savings. I made some mistakes and decisions, and life happened like many of you. But there are some things that I did, and hopefully we'll learn from each other. And in the comment section, please be kind to one another. And if someone is clearly struggling, give them a hug. I mean, that doesn't cost anything. Give them a like. Say, I understand. Hope you're doing okay. It just takes a minute to type a message, and it's really, really helpful to lots of people who are alone and really dealing with some pretty serious stuff. In my last video I did on this, I actually gave the number statistics of how many people over 65 are living alone under the amount that is agreed as the living wage for people. And there are some things you can do. There are some community programs, some government programs. Talked about that in the last video, and I'll leave those links to you for you. And I think some of them were quite useful, but there's still the reality of the mental challenge of not having enough money to just do the things you want to do. And being in your 60s and 70s and 80s and just feeling a little bit trapped. But I've got some ideas, and we're living on a fixed income. You've got to make some thoughtful changes, but I want to get real with some specific lifestyle things you can do. So the first thing I want to chat about was raised actually in our Patreon supporters group. And if you are able to do that, it's lovely to join our Patreon group, because we have a lot of really intimate chats about stuff like this. But someone raised the point about this concept of loud budgeting. And I hadn't heard of it before. I didn't know what that was, but now I understand what it means. Of course, I get it. But it was this idea that right now, people are going through a very tough time with recessions, with money problems, money issues, not just our age, young people as well, not being able to purchase a house, high rents, housing shortages, and they are practicing this thing called loud budgeting. And this is where you talk openly about your situation. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be, worried about or fearful about. That you have to admit out loud to the world, I cannot do that because my budget does not allow it. And this actually happened to me, in my own situation. And I think I mentioned it in a previous video, but I was on a cruise, and I always go on the cheap cruises. I go on the inside cabin, really, really affordable. And this was about 2 years ago. But it was on the Bellissima, which is an MSC cruise, and they have this beautiful light show that goes on every day. And I went up to the top level, and I was watching this show, and this person came along, and they were from the spa. And they had a little uniform on, and I knew them because I'd been down into the spa looking around, taking pictures. And she said, would you like to come for a massage? And I stopped and I said, I would love to, but I'm sorry, but it's outside my budget. And she looked at me with this look of like, I get it, honey. Totally. I couldn't afford it either. And it was like so sweet. It was like a really beautiful feeling of honesty, that I was just saying, I can't afford that. I just can't afford the budget. And just talking loudly and openly about your financial situation, and not feeling guilty or powerless or embarrassed to say, I'm sorry, but I just can't afford to buy that. Or if someone says, come on out to dinner with me, let's go have a coffee. And you can say, well, I'll bring my thermos, but I can't afford to spend any money at a cafe right now. And don't feel bad about that. I could do this whole video just on this topic because it's just like, if you can just admit to the world and to yourself that you can afford something and you're not going to be able to buy it, and turn down invitations. And that's okay. It's totally fine. You can do something else and be creative. Like I said, I always say I take my thermos of tea or my coffee, and then I don't have to buy one on the road. I can actually drink one I made at home. Loud budgeting really is speaking your truth. Housing solutions. Let's talk about downsizing. Now, people, I had a really interesting lady, and I have no judgment here, nothing at all against her, but she said in the comment, I'm living in a 4-bedroom house, and I want to travel the world. I want to travel the world, or I want to see some certain things, and I can't afford it. What should I do? And I emailed her back and I said, well, if you've got a house with 4 bedrooms in it and you're not using all 4 bedrooms, why don't you sell your house and go into a smaller place? And I was just being genuinely helpful. Like, I mean, that seems logical to me. And she came back and said, yes, I could make that decision, but everything is really lovely here and I don't want to change. And I get that. I totally get it. She was being honest with me. But the point there I'm making is, if you have a house that's too big for you and you don't need it, and you can, maybe there's 2 options. One is you can let someone come live with you. You can have a roommate or a flatmate. You can also sell your property and buy something cheaper. But the secret is to buy something cheaper, because if you've got the money in a house, you can buy something. You're not having to pay rent for the rest of your life. But if you have to sell it and rent, that's okay too. Is that out loud, budgeting? So downsizing is really important. Move to a smaller house, and also relocating. Another person said, I had to move to, and I forget the town she said, but it was a city that I know people would love to go live in. But for her, she didn't want to go there. She didn't want to move to this new place. And I understand that. If you've got friends and even family close by, this may not be an option that you can even consider. But relocating to a new town. If you live in California or Washington State and you go move into the US a little bit, or even move abroad, I know, and people go, oh, what would I do in Portugal? But you could live, for a third of the price in Portugal. You could live in a third of the price in other parts of the country. But it's just it's the psychology of saying to yourself, I've got myself in this situation. I can't afford the things that I want, so I'm going to make a change. And I know it's scary beyond words, but that's important. So house sharing is one option. If you can do that, you can, advertise. There's Cohabitus in the UK. There's a few others, Silverline, and there's, is it Boomers? I can't think of the name of it, but look online for, how rentals for older adults, and you can maybe rent out your place there. Another thing is house sharing. Was something else I was going to mention. Is house sitting. And I've actually just saw a message from somebody who said that she's been house sitting for the last 2 years, doesn't have a house, but is house sitting in other people's houses. If you've got freedom, like you don't have a family that's close by, like I have that situation to chat as a challenge, or you're free to move. You've got, maybe you lost a husband, or you lost a partner, and you're really able to move somewhere else, and you don't want to even spend money on rent. House sitting is really cool, especially if you like dogs and cats, because most of them ask for that. But anyway, it's an idea. Public transportation. I know that people say, I need my car. I have to have my car in certain parts of the country, in the United States, Canada. I understand that. I won't even make that suggestion. But there are bikes. There are smaller cars. But there is also public transportation. And I know people, as you get older, maybe don't like being on subways or buses, but I use them all the time. Admittedly, I'm in a nice place where they're clean and sparkly and safe. But, public transportation is an option. Well, that's all I'm talking about here. These are just lifestyle options. You don't have to do it. You can throw your hands and say, Margaret, don't even go there. But public transportation or carpooling. I think it's a sharing mentality now that I think we need to look at. It's like, if you're also sharing stuff, like if you've got a lawnmower and, or you haven't got a lawnmower, the neighbor's got a lawnmower, why not borrow the lawnmower and give them a few dollars for some for the fuel or whatever, but, share stuff. If you live in an apartment building and you know that, just you have to agree amongst yourselves, if you're a homeowners group or whatever, just gather together and say, hey, I've got all these kitchen utensils. If anybody needs to borrow them. Getting back to the sharing economy, I think, is what I'm trying to get at. But again, we're not used to that. We're not used to it. Downgrading your vehicle, I mentioned. Grocery and food expenses. This can be a big one. Planning your meals in advance, buying in bulk, things that you love. Working together again with neighbors and friends to sign up for food deliveries where you share the delivery of the food. But again, it means getting out of your comfort zone, going and talking to someone, sharing your situation out loud, and then sharing stuff, sharing your the household goods, bulk buying, cooking at home. I mean, personally, I have a very simple eating regime, and I buy, I probably spend about $50 a week on food. And that's pretty much all I mean, I have my basic things. Yesterday, I had a perfect example, though, of saving money. I was in the shop, and I had my budget. I was working to my budget for the week, and I thought, oh, I'm going on a train later. I'm going to get some snacks. So I got this little snack pack, and it was really cool. It's called Power Seeds, and it was healthy foods. And I looked at the price. It was $1.95, franc 95, and then I thought, okay, the next thing on my list is cookies. Now, okay, don't yell at me because I like my cookies. I have these Italian cookies that are very healthy, and I always have them to nibble with my tea. Okay. All right. No judgment, please. But anyway, so I thought, I'm going to buy this pack for $1.95, and the cookies cost $2.95 for like 30 cookies. And they're healthy and they're good, and I have them with my tea, and I always will want them. This will go in like 5 minutes on the train. This will last me a week. So I bought the $2.95. So it's that, it's just the simple things of thinking about it. And also, just like I said, not doing things that, are going to waste that 5 francs. So for example, I was then going to go upstairs and have a coffee. It's like $3.95 for a coffee. Why would I do that when I've just been having this discussion about, buying my cookies instead of the snack pack? Generic medications is another thing. Healthcare plans in general, big expense, huge. But you've got some options, and some, you can ask for generic medicines when you're getting your prescriptions filled. There's a whole bunch of other things here. I'm going to keep going a little bit. I know I'm over, but I've just got so many things to think about. Hobbies and skills you can do online. Library resources. The libraries are I know some of them are being closed, but the libraries are a gift. Books, tapes, all kinds of digital resources. Your energy and utilities. Implement some energy saving measures. Water conservation. So if you have to pay for, even if you don't have to pay for water, I always turn my water off when I'm brushing my teeth. I always just fill my kettle up half full and don't boil it. And then, I think there's things you can do with your cooking, using certain heating options that are less expensive, getting a hot water bottle or a blanket. You probably do have this stuff anyway. I know I'm talking to the converted a lot with this conversation, but again, secondhand shopping for clothes is really important. I bought this necklace and these earrings at a charity shop for under $5. You can do this. You don't have to look. It doesn't have to. These are not diamonds, by the way. Why would I do that? The point is, you can get really nice clothes, and you can get nice jewelry at the charity shops and consignment shops, whatever you can do. Socializing and networking, you can get together for little gatherings at home, bring a dish, have potlucks. We have, I know in the UK they have like these street fairs where everybody brings a little dish to eat, and that's kind of fun. But what else have I got here? Volunteering, that can be a really good way to get out of your world for now and again. And sometimes the loneliness of poverty is really hard. You feel like you just can't even go out because you don't have any money, but you don't need money for some things. But your mind tells you that you're poor, and that poverty just, oh my goodness, I just had this huge flashback from my childhood. And didn't we all? I think that I was raised to think I was poor. I knew I wasn't raised, I wasn't rich, and I was poor. But I think that really, really carries over into our life. Anywho, digression there. But budgeting is the last thing I want to talk about. Know what's going in, going out. Just budget and stick to that budget. I'm trying to do a February no spend, and I'm making progress. I'm just thinking about it, which is good, and I'm not buying anything extra, although it's so tempting. There's so much cool stuff out there. But I go to the charity shops and I find something for $1, and then life is good. Anyway, I know this is a long video. Thank you for staying with it. Hope it's been useful. If you've got any other ideas I haven't covered, please leave them in the comments section. I value your judgment and your feedback, and I value you. You are not poor in my mind. Whatever is going on in your life, however difficult, however limiting the amount of money that you can spend is, you are beautiful and you are precious to me, and I know to all the women in our 60Me community. We are totally 1,000,000% unique. There's not a woman in this community that wouldn't reach out to give you a hug if you needed it. I'm telling you, this community is too much. Anyway, I'm getting emotional, and as we do, and this is a time of life to be emotional, to be caring and loving to each other. It's important. I love you. Take care.